freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round one recap for this week's Scottish Open. Joining me to break it all down, Kyle Porter is here. And KP, it's still morning my time, so I'm going to say good morning.
Good morning. Coffee golf. We're doing recaps at, 2 Eastern. This is fantastic. I love this time of year. I love the golf that's being played, and we got a good leaderboard after one round.
We do, and we got started early in the morning or last night, depending on where you were. And the man who took a lot of the oxygen leading into the Scottish Open, Rory McIlroy, was out early making more noise. He turned in 1 under and then got hot. A birdie on number 1, his 10th hole of the day, an eagle on 3, a birdie on 4. You add it all up, Rory McIlroy posts a 5 under 65, currently in a tie for 7th. Excuse me. Yes, that's right. And 3 shots off the lead.
Yeah, I mean, were you surprised by this?
No.
Yeah.
In what sense? Like, I mean, because I got asked, there were people who were telling me that Rory McIlroy was going to play bad this week.
Yeah, that's not smart.
That's insane.
It was not surprising at all. I don't know that I knew he was going to go out and shoot 65, but he's just. I think sometimes with Rory, you get what happens is you get these small moments that obscure kind of the overall picture. And I think that's a little bit of what is going on right now of like, okay, this 3 or 4 hole stretch at Pinehurst is obscuring the fact that he hasn't finished outside the top 15 since Harbor Town.
Right.
Like it's just been like the Rory floor, which is just preposterously high. Right. And I mean, if he wins this week, zero shocks, 0 surprises.
He's the favorite. Yeah. I mean, if you lived in 1984 instead of 2024 and you opened up a newspaper every week and saw Rory McIlroy's results and knew nothing else about how he got there or any other words that came out of his mouth or any other words that anybody said about him, you'd be like, oh yeah, like, of course,
well,
this guy's the best player in the world.
Yeah, it's a great point because there's all this noise around him, right? And I think that, you listen to him talk on whenever he talked Wednesday, you're like, oh, I think he seems, at least for like, we can put majors into a different category, right? We can talk about majors in a different way with him. But even then, like I think you can still kind of throw the first several rounds of a major into this bucket of like, oh, he's fine. Like he's playing great golf. I mean, look at these results. If you're watching on YouTube, 2nd at the US Open, T15 at the Memorial. That was his worst finish since April. T4 at Canada, T12 at the PGA, 1 Wells Fargo. I mean, it's just it's the level of play we've come to expect with him. And so for him to go out on a pretty easy scoring day for this golf course and shoot 65 is just it feels. He did have a hilarious quote where he said, I hit some kind of squirrely shots over the first 5 to 7 holes. He said, and it reminded me that golf's not as easy as I sometimes think it is, which is kind of a flex of like, I've been the best player in the world for 15 straight years. So it was, overall great day for Rory and excited to see how his next, I guess, 2 weeks kind of go.
Yeah, if there was any rust, he ironed it out by the time he made the turn, and all was good there. 3 shots off the pace. A couple of big movers in the morning are names that many will not be familiar with. Max Kieffer shoots a 6 under 64. He's a German, and Haotong Lee, who I mean, you might have heard from him, but not in quite some time, also posted a 6 under 64. Haotong bogeyed 2 and 18, but a bunch of birdies in the middle. He is fun. He is exciting. He is someone we have not talked about in a long time.
For sure. I mean, you think about Harding Park when you think about him leading after 36 and just blasting balls on the range for like 10 hours afterwards.
Got shredded for that. And then he came out and shot like an 81 or something.
He shot a million over the next 2 days. I was interested just broadly by the makeup of this leaderboard, Rick. There was only I don't know off the top of my head now, but for a while there was like 1 American and 2 Germans, which is not there's a lot of Americans in this golf tournament, and yet there was, I mean, it was a smattering of different countries, including China, including Haotong Li. So I thought it was actually a very cool makeup, and it's not a golf course. It's, to me, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this, it's more of an aerial golf course. Like if you saw this leaderboard at the Open Championship, you'd be like, yes, of course, this is links golf. It provides the opportunity for all these different styles to kind of come together. To me, this is more aerial, so I was a little bit surprised by that.
I think this might be a common phrase we've heard this week, but I do think a really good way to describe it is that it is a modern links course, right? It's a brand new golf course, especially by Scottish standards. I think it's like 20 years old, which is new for golf courses in general. But yeah, there are elements that are more through the air than a golf course that was constructed in 1780 or something.
Yeah. And I think that, that's why the leaderboard sort of surprised me a little bit. But I got to say, like, I love these, what do you call it? Like co-sanctioned events. I love them because you get different styles, different sometimes the PGA Tour, this is a weird comp, but it can feel like just a bigger Corn Ferry Tour event. Which is, I know that's absurd to say, but I love these events where you get Euro Tour guys and Asian Tour guys, and I think it makes for just a more interesting golf tournament, honestly.
Yeah, it's fun. There's a lot more names. There's Americans, there's South Koreans, Germans, Chinese, Sweden, France, all within the top, 8 or so of the leaderboard. The one surprise, so Rory, not a surprise at all. The surprise in a positive way was Davis Thompson.
Yeah.
Fresh off the victory, shoots a 5 under 65. It is really hard to keep it rolling after a win, let alone your first win, let alone then having to hop a plane, go many time zones in advance into a different continent, across the pond, whatever else you want to throw at him, right back to business.
Yeah, and I think this gets at a little bit of what we've been talking about with Davis Thompson of, hey, this is not a like out of nowhere, oh, Aaron Rise plant had a nice little streak. This is like a top 20 type guy, right? Top 25, top 30, whatever bucket you want to put him in. And I think at some point, if this continues, you have to say, oh, maybe Davis Thompson is somebody that we should think about as a potential American star. Because I don't know that anybody, even though the pedigree's good and he's had like a nice career so far, I don't know that anybody puts him in that class of player. And look, we're kind of a long way from, I mean, we're not a long way, but we're still a ways from saying, oh, President's Cup, right? Or, different things like that. But this is emblematic of the fact that he's not a 250th ranked player. He's a top 25 type guy.
Yeah, I like that. And last guy here from the Morning Wave, a very popular selection across many industries this week. It's Tommy Fleetwood, who got off to a little bit of a slow start, KP. It was clean, but he was only 1 under through his first 11 holes, and then he finished in a flurry. Birdies on 3, 5, 6, and 8. He finished up on the back 9 on the golf course. And Tommy Fleetwood, who has had a very strong season, obviously without the victory, is lurking yet again.
Yeah, it's Tommy season. It's July in Scotland, so it's Tommy season. Him and Rory both shot 31 on the back. Well, on their back, the front 9 of the course, which was super impressive. Man, it would be cool. We talked about this on Tuesday. It'd be so cool for him to get a win or two over the next month. Well, specifically over the next 2 weeks.
Narrow it down just a little bit.
Yeah. And this is a great start. Again, it wasn't the weather or necessarily the course that makes you think like, oh, this is Tommy's place. But didn't he play well here last year? Wasn't he in the mix?
Yeah, I think he's got like 2 or 3 really good starts here.
Yeah. So I'm pumped about it. He's if you said, hey, who's been playing the best golf under the radar? So not like a Ludwig, he hasn't been under the radar, or a Rory or a Bryson, but who's been playing the best golf of guys that we haven't talked about very much? Tommy would be up there. Like he's had a really solid year. to date.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, because he hasn't won, but it's been a bunch of like top 20s and all that stuff. Yeah.
Who else would you throw in there if I said like best guys that we're just kind of ignoring?
Well,
Like
one guy,
Harmon.
see, I was thinking like Collin Morikawa. Is that too good?
Oh yeah, no, that's totally. He's the forgotten man.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Best statistical season of his career.
It's unbelievable. And it's vintage Morikawa. It's so good. It's sustained. He actually, I'll tell you what, KP, he played in the afternoon. We'll talk about him after a quick word from our partners. And we're back. That man, Collin Morikawa, went out in 33. A little bit of turbulence in the first part of his round, but he gets it together, makes birdies on 10, 16, and 17. He's 5 under. He's 3 shots off the lead. KP, it is not just because I bet him this week, but I did. It is not just because I'm excited for him, but I am. I'm ready. I'm ready for the Collin win. He's been unbelievable this year. The metrics are back to where you want them. He's putting well. Like it is time.
Yeah, I think. Look, we're on the same page with Morikawa. I think that you and I were on the same page with Scheffler about this time last year. I think we both said, "Hey, he's about to win a ton." We were 9 months early, almost a year early.
And I also didn't think it was going to be this much.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it would be like 2 or 3, and it turned out to be 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page with Morikawa. I think my question for you is, and I've kind of flip-flopped on this, and I'm curious about where you're at. We saw a ton of weather and wind on the weekend here last year. Mm-hmm. Do you have concern about Morikawa? Because the Open that he won was, very benign, as everybody knows. Do you have concern about that if he's near the top of this board come, let's say, Saturday afternoon?
So yes, but I do also remember there were a couple of rounds recently because you have floated this before, and it was every time he got in any type of wind or he just got swatted, and it was brutal. But I feel like the last 1 or 2 times that I've been waiting for that moment and he's played in windy conditions, he's actually been pretty good. So the answer is I don't know. But yes, I'm concerned. I'm also just concerned that, and this is really unfair for a guy who's won 2 major championships, a handful of PGA Tour events, a guy that I like. I think he's really great for the game. I think he's like kind of soft. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I'm not sure he's like a super killer. But so that worries me a little bit, but it's such a sick stat profile.
Yeah, it is. And we've got it pulled up on YouTube. This is from Rick Run Good. I don't know if we can dig into this, producer Josh, but the round that sticks out to me is the 3rd round of the Masters this year. I think it was the 3rd round. Maybe it was the 2nd round. Remember that day? It was like insanely windy and just crazy at Augusta.
Yeah, we were getting blown over.
Was that Friday? I think
it was Friday.
Okay. So Friday, and I'm pretty sure we can look at it maybe on here with Morikawa. I think he shot like 68 or 69.
So Josh I think he's showing an image right now. I can pull up what he did.
And that day for me, and this is why I said I flip-flopped on it a little bit. That day for me kind of reimagine just the way that I think about Morikawa, because I was with you. Like, okay, I watched him at Southern Hills on some crappy weather. He just got blown out. It was just like poofy all over the place. And I think part of my fear in that is like he doesn't have a lot of different shots. I mean, I'm sure if you're like on the range with him, he can hit different shots, but he only kind of takes that one stock shot into a tournament. And so you're like, well, if it's windy, if it's bad weather, what can he combat that? But he did so on Friday at Augusta.
Yeah, so he gained 5 strokes on Friday. He gained 3 ball striking. That was That was one. I feel like there was one more where I was expecting because you actually, we spent a lot of time talking about Collin Morikawa at Augusta, and you had him nailed. Like, okay, Saturday is going to be great. He's going to be my favorite a little bit on Sunday. Like it was very sharp. And so we were paying close attention to what he was doing every single day.
Yeah.
And it was impressive. There's this round by round stuff at the Masters. So
so that's round 3.
Round two is the windy day.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. What is the tee to green there? I can't, is it
one? So 2.7 ball striking and 1 point. I'm highlighting it here. This is tee to green right here.
Okay. So yeah, that's, I mean, look, it's one round. So I don't know that there's like huge conclusions to draw from it, but it gave me pause of, everybody now it's become kind of in vogue to say, well, Collin can't play in the wind. And I would have agreed for the most part throughout his career, but this round, that performance at Augusta gave me a little pause because that was, I mean, you were there. Like those winds it was nasty. It was like howling, and he stood up and did it, and I was super impressed by that.
They were bad, and obviously that was my first time, but people were like, "Wow, I've been here for 10 straight years, and this is the windiest I've ever seen it here."
Yeah. Which it was nuts.
A couple of interesting names at the top of the board here. Guys that have had certainly subpar seasons. We'll start with the man who's in solo second. That is Sungjae Im, a 7 under 63. He did the Haotong thing, a bogey early, a bogey late, and a bunch of birdies in between. He shoots a 7 under 63, and it has not been a good year for Sungjae. KP, he's starting to play a little bit better, but this would be a big boom if he could get himself in the mix and contend again this week.
I think he showed what he's capable of in terms of scoring, right? That's 3, 6, 9 birdies in his first 16 holes, which is just crazy. Yeah, I mean the stats are all messed up today from ShotLink, but yeah, I think his putting was kind of out of control. So I don't know that you're going to get 463s from Sungjae, but it would be cool to kind of get him going ahead of he had a great Open last year, and it'd be cool to get him going before this year's.
Yeah, the ShotLink stuff is all screwed up, but the DP World Tour is tracking it. So yeah, he gained 3.5 strokes putting, which was the third most in the field today.
Okay.
So that's the baseline there. So yeah, it's unlikely that he does that again on Friday or any other day this week, but good signs from Sungjae. And then how about this? That's a familiar name, but we don't talk about it at the top too often. Justin Thomas, an 8 under 62. Justin Ray had a very good stat that says he has not led following any PGA Tour round since his win at the 2022 PGA Championship. It's over 2 years.
Yeah, I did not see that. That's a phenomenal stat that I'm gonna have to include in my roundup. But look, if you just said, okay, little wind, aerial game, JT plays great, you'd be like, okay, like, yeah, I can see it. Like I mean, the thing I was thinking about during this round is I was watching him. He looked very, I don't know. He just looked very like comfortable and obviously you shoot 62 and you're comfortable, but he's been so bad at Opens, which makes no sense to me. It's almost like can't lay at majors in general. You're like, I don't, this should be his best major just because he can fight it so well and he has so many different shots. This is obviously different than an Open and different weather than a traditional Open. So I don't know that there's not a ton of parallels to draw, but my point being like this course and this setup, I think favor him better than like Froome next week. Doesn't mean he's not going to, like, he might play very well next week, but it does, like, if you had to pick one for me to, like, if you said yesterday, hey, is he going to play better in the Scottish or the Open? I would have said the Scottish. So this was cool to see. It's also funny, like the day after or 2 days after Keegan gets named captain,
yep.
JT leads the tournament.
Try to make a good impression. Knows he has to show captain something.
I was cracking up about that. I was sitting here giggling to myself about that. It was good.
Well, if you think the leaderboard's really good, Vegas agrees with you because the odds are basically big boppers only right now. Justin Thomas narrowly ahead of Rory McIlroy on the odds board, 5.5 to 1 to win the Scottish Open. Rory is 6 to 1. He's 3 shots back. Ludwig, who pops himself up in there, 6 under, 2 shots back. He's 6.5 to 1. Sungjae is 10 to 1. Collin Morikawa is 12 to 1. Fleets, you can get him at 14 to 1 if you're interested. Everybody else longer than that.
Yeah, I love the way Ludwig's playing. I mean, it's so repeatable. I know that's what everybody says about him. But it's a little short. I like Fleetwood here. I like Davis Thompson here. I think Davis Thompson might be just really good. And I don't know that the numbers have necessarily caught up with that yet. So yeah, I like, if you had to make me pick here, I would say Morikawa, Fleetwood, Davis Thompson.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that what we talked about a lot last week was that there was just a lot of leaderboard jumping around, and it was, guys were making big moves, and I didn't really want to touch the top of the board. This feels like we're not going to get a huge weather wave. I know conditions can change, but it's going to be pretty clean all week. Like, these are the guys who are going to be in the mix. So I'm okay kind of keeping it on the first page here.
Yeah.
I mean, Collin looks great. I'm happy with that. But if you made me bet one, no, it's probably Collin at 11. If I had no other interest, it's probably Collin at 11.
I think that's right. But I mean, I think Rory's going to be very good all week, and he's just so like his tee to green is just it's very difficult to like play better than him consistently, over 4 days. So I'm intrigued to see. Doesn't mean you're going to make all the putts. Doesn't mean he doesn't get like a bad weather draw or whatever, but I do trust him to go out and shoot 66 tomorrow or whatever.
I think I might go have some brunch. That's what we're going to do. All right. Well, we will be back definitely the same time tomorrow, because we're live on CBS Sports Network. That'll be our round 2 recap. Then we will post the audio and podcast version of that show on YouTube and wherever else you get your pods and all that fun stuff. But we'll definitely see you at 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, CBS Sports Network. Big thanks to producer Josh, who does all the hard work behind the scenes. That right there, it's Kyle Porter. You can find him at Kyle Porter CBS, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.